Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. Happy Sunday. So why don't we take a moment here to sort of settle in for a moment or two, and we'll get started. Okay. So, last couple weeks, there's been a lot of teachings on different things, all very important. They show the path. And understanding the path is extremely important because we understand why we do things. They're just not for doing them. There's a purpose. They help us connect from our own end. So as we've learned from the tree of life, that we reach up from ourselves and Hashem reaches down towards us. And we come to learn how to work with both. But what's really in our power, what we can do in assistance of this, is working on ourselves so we can rise up to meet Him, to higher states of mind, higher states of being, higher abilities, greater frequencies, ability for energy to move better in our bodies. And so we come back to our practice. There's really no other way to do it. Not only is it an expression of our devotion, which is extremely important, because ultimately what we do comes from a sense of devotion. We're not doing this in front of a rock or an intent to connect with the rock or with a tree or even with the moon, right? We're doing this with the desire to connect with Adonai. So there's that heart of devotion, that heart of longing to connect, to feel there's a purpose greater than just with ourselves or what we achieve during our lives or on this planet, but there's something larger, bigger. Gives us a sense that there's something more to come. after this life, that it's all part of something universal, that we transcend and we connect in a more deeper and eternal way. And so this comes through our practice, how we get that sense of connection so we can live from that place while still here. So this week, I would like us to get back into our practice together. And I'd like to kind of guide us through it. Stability of the mind and our awareness is really ground zero. It's the most important part, because from that place we can direct our focus and we have greater awareness in where we're going and what we're doing. So I wanted to work really a lot with that and sort of review these techniques. Came to me this week to teach a more advanced practice, but it requires the ability to focus. And so I pulled back from my instinct to kind of set up a teaching in an hour or an hour and a half of advance notice like I used to do a while back, because I wanted it to make sure that enough people had the ability to do it. So it's important to keep doing the practice so you build that strength, because there's a lot of things, very interesting things one can do. But it requires an ability to kind of focus. And so we're going to work on that, and we're going to work on connecting with our bodies more so we can do some of these practices and have some experiences which are, quite frankly, quite amazing. So when we begin in front of our prayer space, regardless of what we do, we always bring in God, and we light our candle and we light our incense, even if we're just stretching, or even if we're just doing pure meditation techniques, which helps strengthen the focus of our awareness, helps us connect deeper inwards and clear our minds, gives us greater choice to act as opposed to react, helps us balance our energies, like the tree of life, from too lax, too open, to too tight, too constricted. And we can judge that with our awareness when we learn to kind of step back. And meditation really helps us to do that. So even if we're doing something that doesn't directly invoke the name of God, we're not doing the Shema, we're not doing any of that, what still constitute this as prayer is, one, what intent do we do it with? Connect to God, to be able to stabilize our energies so we live in a better way, right? And then if you're religious, to be able to connect with God to get that divine guidance. So therefore, everything you do, if it's with that intent, becomes a religious practice. Even if you're in a yoga studio with 30 other people, or even if you're on the beach staring at the sunset, are you filling up your heart so you could be a better person? Are you finding your healing? Do you take a moment to pray? Then everything becomes a religious process. Even your drive out to the beach becomes a sort of pilgrimage. You see? And for us this morning, not only is it our intent, but we light the incense and we light the candle and we sit in God's presence. So everything else is done in relationship to that. And that's why even a strict meditation practice where you don't say a name of God becomes a prayer. Because the container of it started with a connection. See? Any tree needs strong roots. And stability of mind, of awareness, calmness, is the creation of strong roots. It's the ability to be focused when you drive your car, to be aware, to feel your car if something's a little off or wrong, and give you enough distance to not get caught up in that problem, so your mind, your knowledge, or your instincts tell you what to do to resolve it. And that requires a little stepping back. You're not caught up in the stream, in the current of what's coming up, but you're a little removed, so the current gushes above you, to the side of you, but you're a little further back, so you're able to see it, you feel the temperature of it, you know what it's about, but you're not enveloped, you're not taken away by it. And that's stability. And it's essential to everything we do. When we do the pranayama, that's to help clear our energetic body, clear our air inside of us, the prana, the chi inside of us, to recirculate it so it flows properly and our mind calms down. Lower energy within us, lower blocks, lower pressure, right? There's a pressure to it. Clarity and proper movement calms down our minds. And when our minds are calm, our emotions are calm, our thoughts are calm. And what comes up? We begin to discover that there's an inner awareness that lives within us, beneath the mind, that's always aware. And we realize it's not our minds that are in charge, though we may be confused to think so, but there's something deeper that's present. That has greater wisdom than our minds and is less able to be caught up in the flow of the emotions and the energy of our mind. So let's light our shrine, our prayer altar, and put up a little incense, and let's sort of settle in a little bit, and we'll kind of start. So take a couple minutes to do that. I'm not going to start with pranayama today. But if people who are doing the practice would like to do that, then feel free to do it now. We'll give a couple minutes. Right, so you can also stretch the leg a little bit. It's important if you, before the pranayama or anything, you do a little stretching. But if you did the pranayama already without the stretching, that's fine. Especially the legs. But wherever people sort of have tightness, if you're flexible, it might not be as necessary, but it promotes the flow of energy. And what we're trying to do here is to promote a flow of energy. A stable flow, a stable mind. And everything you're doing in this practice, even if you have to sort of adjust or something's not comfortable, you try to do it mindfully. So it all becomes sort of part of the practice. So it's not, here it is, it's formal, I'm starting, but everything's the beginning. Even if you shower beforehand or brush your teeth before or having a little breakfast, if you can take the time to say, when you get out of bed, my practice is starting now, and try to slow down and do everything mindfully and focused. If you're eating, you're eating. If you're opening the fridge door, you're opening the fridge door. You're not focused on something else. That disciplines your mind, and it's learning to stay. We want our mind to stay in the present. Most of us live in the past or in the future. So younger people tend to live in the future, what they're going to do on Friday night or the rest of their lives. It's very future-oriented. Oh, I don't like this now, and I got school tomorrow. Oh my God, right? Older people tend to live in the past, things they've done, things they've experienced. And somehow what's going on now isn't quite present, but that's the only thing that's really real. And what happens now creates the future, and it creates memories that we can look back on if we choose to. But you notice what I said, if we choose to. Nothing wrong of looking backwards at memories, but it's a choice. Not that our minds tend to go back there and there's no choice in it. So we're learning to stay in the present. So in a way, we're teaching our minds and our energies like a dog to a leash. It should stay right where we are. So right alongside our body, not pulling us forward. And we've all seen dogs walk their masters as opposed to the masters walking their dog, right? And that's most of us. Our minds are pulling us every which direction and we have no control. Or the dog being backwards and the master wants to move forward at a certain place, but the dog is pulling them back and they have to stop or slow down, and the movement's not what it should be, right? And what we're trying to do is bring our minds to heal, that we have that control. Then we have that awareness in that still place, when our minds are in control, for our minds to open. Like traditional analogy, like a lotus flower. It opens and shines and radiates. But that sort of happens at when things are still. And it's not so much that things around us are still, but our minds become still. And then everything flowers. There could be chaos all around us, but our energies caught up in the chaos, so they become chaotic as well. In the stillness, everything blossoms. Our abilities, our awareness, our ability to connect with wisdom and concentration, discipline, being able to work with that wisdom, to apply it to the current situation. So it's not just wisdom out there, but it's a wisdom that's sort of brought down to earth and is appropriate. But that's only done if you kind of get out of the way and you don't allow the momentum of the situation to sway that flow that occurs within us. And also when we see things, when we pray, and it's possible, or when we meditate, we're able to stay present to what we're seeing without judging. Be in that present moment when we feel inspiration or we feel a connection to God, that we don't immediately escape to analyzing it or start, oh my God, this feels wonderful, whatever. But those thoughts, I don't know if people have had that experience, pull you away from that. So it's staying present in our experiences and allow it to deeply go within us and take root. So now I'm looking at my beautiful candle holder, which I love so much, and as I'm speaking and staying present with it, the blessing, the beauty I find in it goes deep, because I'm noticing the light, the warmth of the light. The glass isn't clear, it's a little opaque. I really can't clean it because it'll wipe off the very fading and flaky little color painted on the little knobs on it, which are, I can't even barely even touch it because it loses color each time I touch it. It's so old. It's all flaking off, but I see through it and it has an energy. And if I'm present to it, it feeds me and it gives me healing and calm and peace. But if you're not present, you kind of lose that blessing. So we're really going to work on being present. There's a focus to it, but it's a light focus. We're focused, we're present, but it's not like we're staring at it and holding on to it. It's just a grounding focus. And so when you do the pranayama and you develop that ability, after you stop, you take a moment and you sit in the calmness of your mind, and the stability you've cultivated through that practice and other practices, you're going to realize that the calmness just becomes larger and larger, and you could literally sit in it. And then you start getting an ability of kind of who you really are. And when you do pray, you feel that connection because all your energies have kind of gotten out of the way and you're very receptive. And then when I give a practice that requires concentration, you're able to do it because you have developed some abilities to be able to go there. Okay? So the next couple weeks, a couple months maybe, we're going to really work on this. I've given a whole host of teaching. I'm kind of relieved I don't have pages of notes in front of me this morning, though I love doing that. But, the real path is, after you have the understanding, is to get the realization of it. It's not just book knowledge or ancient teachings coming out of books or wherever we get them from, the internet, wherever. It's meant to be applied. Somebody wrote these things. That means they had the realizations and the understanding, and then they in turn wrote it, you see. Now we learn from reading it, but we need to go from reading it to feeling it and understanding it to get to the place where those authors were when they wrote it. Does that make sense? It's a guide. So let's focus on our candle. Couple deep breaths. Back straight. Inhale through the nose. When I focus at the beginning to center, sometimes I close my eyes so I feel my body. And I try to relax any tension I have and just release. And then call in God with the name of God that you use. And that sort of brings in God into the practice. Even though we've already connected, we kind of bring in that sacred energy in our bodies. So, concentration can be practiced in many different ways. So, let's start with this way. So, as you were saying the name of God, if you put your awareness, try to feel inside your body, as you say the name and you repeat it, if you have the ability to, and it works this way for you, you can say it inside your body without moving your lips. But if you need it to do it out loud or whisper it, that's fine. Or under your breath. And you try to see how it feels in your body when you repeat it. Do your muscles relax? You do this practice with your eyes closed because you're turning inwards. We're no longer focused on the external world. By closing our eyes, our senses that our other senses become heightened. They increase to make up for the deficit of the lack of sight. So we hear better, but more importantly for this practice, we feel better. We really feel what's going on in our bodies. And we anchor our awareness where we're focused in the feeling of what's going on in our bodies. So we learn to concentrate by remaining present and what we're feeling in our bodies. So our minds are not thinking about anything else. We're focusing on our bodies and the energy that's being created. And see if you feel lighter. Feel if you feel the energy going up the central channel or the central column. Where do you feel your energy pooling, concentrated out? Does it feel blocked somewhere? Or does it go up through your head? Do you see a colored light? It's very possible. Does things seem getting lighter as you recite the name? Do you feel your muscles relax? So as you recite the name, you try to just relax any tension you feel in your body and just let go and be. Yes? The tension in the body creates energies and thoughts in the mind. A calm body, calm mind. So notice if something scares us, right, our minds get a shock and immediately we feel our heart races, our lungs tighten, our muscles tighten, and our body reacts, right? External to internal. Here we're working from internal, the energies of our bodies, and then see how it affects our minds, which in turn affects our body. And it opens our awareness, because the constriction of the movement of our minds and the tightness of our body actually keeps our consciousness and our awareness underneath. But when we relax, it opens. And that opening can be seen as the energy of our bodies, like the muck of a chariot, rising. There's an ascension of our energy up our column. And we feel this relaxation because everything seems to fall into a proper balance. We've moved from the left or right hemisphere of our bodies, from the lunar and solar channels, lunar or solar columns, right, in the tree of life, to that release, meaning the energy is in the center one, in the Kundalini channel, where awareness and our life lives. Yes? So we're going to do that. And it's just light. You don't force it. It comes with time, but you practice, right? We move slowly by doing the practice, and things heal and they naturally line up. There's no act of having to do something to make something happen. In a way, we're learning not to do anything for things to come into place. You see, it's kind of the opposite of this world when we have to do things to get something. Here, since our core is holy, Yahweh lives there, Hashem lives there, Adonai lives there, right? We learn to rest. And by letting go, everything sort of lines up. The disturbances go away. We're no longer sending waves in the water or energy of our body. We learn to stop agitating it, and then it settles. So we're closing our eyes. comfortable position, but the back is straight if you can. If it's hard for you seated, then you're in a chair, right? But the back, your back's not touching the back of the chair unless you have to. If you have to, you have to. But if you don't, it's important there's nothing encumbering any part of your back, and your hand position is aligned. You close your eyes. You say a couple breaths, whatever you feel to, through the nose or through the mouth. It could change from one to the other. Then you use the name of God that you have as your practice. It should be a name that you use that's calming and centering. Kind of feeling that you enter into that presence when you say it, of being held and seen. You find a name that does that for you. Certain names can have different properties. So if the name you're using doesn't quite have those properties in this practice, then you go exploring for one of the names that does have that property for you. So you relax, and then just say the name softly inside or whisper it. Preferably, it's a thought that moves the energy within you of that name. It's a little further along. It comes with practice. And see what you feel in your body. Your eyes are closed and you're calm and still. And just say it repeatedly and see what you feel inside. See if you feel your energy rising. See if you see colors. And even if you don't feel anything, you just lightly put your awareness in your body and just see what's there. Okay, we're going to do this for a couple minutes. And if saying the name feels, you've said it enough times, then just stop and rest and just observe inside yourself. And if you feel like continuing it, then say the name again. Just, even if you don't see anything, just learn to relax. Just relax. This could be an extremely peaceful, relaxing practice. Okay? All right, let's start. So now you kind of subtly engage your awareness and your mind from something receptive to processing a little bit lightly, to kind of become more aware of what happened. So do you feel lighter, calmer? How do your muscles and tendons feel? Does your body feel more flexible? Has emotion subsided? Stress, sadness, anger, agitation? Do you feel more focused and less scattered? But it's not a focus as I'm focused on something. It's more like, are you more present? When you look up at your shrine, do you feel like you see it? Like really see it? Like you're noticing it in a way that's always been there, but somehow there was a sort of filter or film that sort of kept you from seeing it as precisely or as aware as it is now. And even if you haven't felt anything, that's okay. Changes have happened, rest assured. It just takes time. And this is why it's called practice. We're doing it, so it's not practice in that sense, but it requires doing it for a while. And then one day you're like, oh my God, what happened? Oh, this is what he was talking about. Oh my gosh. And then you get a certain amount of confidence in the teaching, and then you start believing in them more, and then you apply yourself more, or you are open to following them, even if you don't immediately have the experience. So why don't we do this again? So what we're doing here is finding our balance within us. Not too cold, not too hot. Right? Not too solar, not too lunar. Not too feminine, not too masculine. Remember, these have nothing to do with our genders. Right? We're finding the common ground. When things aren't agitated within us, when things are in balance, the right proportion of the various elements within us, things that constitute us, and in certain teachings, literally the elements that exist in nature, such as fire, water, air, earth. All personality types can be derived from how much air someone has, to how much earth, to how much fire, to how much water. Right? But there's also another element that people forget. It's called space. It's the openness in which all the elements have to have in order to be. If there's no container for fire and water and air, then they can't exist. What we're learning here is to put our stick shift in neutral. So anything that disturbs settles. So things go from the left or right column of the tree, left or right channel of our body, settles. And when it settles and comes into order, to a certain extent, a divine order, a divine alignment, into equilibrium, it's naturally in the center. And we learn to live in that place of the center. And then we're in union with the upper Sephirots while here. So this technique is an extremely powerful one. We anchor our awareness. Where do we put our attention? In our bodies. So if our mind becomes discursive, right, meaning we start thinking about the past or the future, or our laundry list, or what we're doing this afternoon, or whether you're tired and you're going to go to bed afterwards, or, oh my God, I forgot to feed the cat. Well, if that thought annoys you, which it probably could, or the cat's annoying you, it might be good to get up right now, feed your cat to have some peace of mind, right? So if there's really something, sometimes it's just good to kind of handle that, right? But most of these thoughts aren't necessary in this moment. And when you go off into them, right, and you catch yourself, you're like, oh, my mind got away from me, right? My mind took me away somewhere. You put yourself back to the object of your awareness, which in this case is what you're feeling in your body. So you immediately like, oh, I spun out into thinking, right? So it's all called thinking. It's thinking, right? Isn't it thinking? So you're like, okay, and you put it back in your body. You take some deep breaths and you go back to your practice. You don't judge it. Look, it's the human condition. There's really nothing to judge. But you make the decision to come back to where you choose to put your focus. The mind really needs something to focus on. It needs an anchor. Until you've developed enough practice that the mind doesn't need an anchor. It could just sit in that center place and be aware. Or you could pop it back in there with your intention in 1/2 of 1 millisecond. But you place it back there and you just go on with your practice, and you're learning to put your mind to heel. So just like a dog who goes up and whatever the owner says, heel, heel, pulls back on the leash, and the dog knows where to go by the owner's side, right? And with time, the dog doesn't go too far ahead or too far behind and stays by the owner's side, and we call that the dog is disciplined. It's not saying that our minds are dogs. Don't get off on that. It's saying how we go about training ourselves. We're teaching our minds to stay where we are. And a powerful practice is with working with the body. And so we anchor our mind in the sense of our bodies. Where our attention is, so is our energy. So if somebody has a pain in their body when they do this, put your attention to where that place is. Right? So these postures, check my website if you haven't found a posture that's comfortable. www.wisdomoftheshalom. There's a beautiful page where I put every posture possible. Spend a good amount of time doing it with pictures on how to create a comfortable position. But even then, you need to adjust, and it's okay to change to different postures too. The important thing is, even in mid-practice, this one hurts too much, I have to switch. If you're, point of practice, if you're doing the semi-lotus position with one leg above the other, which I did for years, okay? Remember, every 15, 20 minutes, switch to the other leg. Your body has to be balanced. You can't just stay on one. So you go kind of back and forth, and you have that equilibrium that you're trying to maintain, right? But that being said, by relaxing, by going back to the posture, by seeing where you're tense, if you put your awareness there, as you say the name of God, the energy that's created by saying that name of God will naturally be more focused in where you put your awareness. So I have, so let's say a pain around the knee. Look, if it's sharp, change your posture. Do not damage yourself. But then you say the name of God while you're focusing, or you're putting your awareness where the pain is, which is pretty easy to do because you feel something there. And especially if you catch it when there's just tightness or a slight burning, and you say the name of God and you think in your mind, relax, 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 does the pain go away? And then you start seeing how the energy of saying the name of itself, without even you thinking or giving the instruction to your body to relax in that spot, see if that's just naturally going to make the energy, the pain kind of go away, almost like magic. And when you start having these experiences, and by the way, it does make it go away, just giving you the answer right there with time, you start understanding the power and the energy of saying a sacred name. So it goes from being theory to being in practice. And you've experienced it. And a couple times you might be like, whoa, my gosh, that's just a coincidence. That's not possible. Good. It's very important to have a questioning mind. That's intelligence. Is this a fluke or it's not? Because it gives confidence when you investigate it again and you realize after the fifth time, this is not a coincidence. This is something real. And it opens your awareness as to what is possible, and things you didn't think otherwise were possible are. But don't stay in a questioning mind. That's just, you don't get anywhere. You come to a conclusion. Oh, this is real. This does work. Oh. And then what you think's possible, what you thought was not possible or out there, suddenly becomes possible. And then you're developing a very important quote-unquote tool to bring into your life. And then you start working with different names and realizing each name have a different frequency, a different temperature. They work for different things. And here's the thing. When you have an ability and you've developed one name and it quote-unquote works for you, you are able to relax things, it works on your body, and you've developed an ability with it, a certain level of attainment, the other names come really fast. So it doesn't require that amount of time to do the other names. It's almost like you've cleared your body a lot with that name, and therefore the other names, you've developed that ability. It's just switching to a slightly different frequency, but you've already kind of tapped yourself in. It takes a little while. But it takes you far. I progressed the fastest when I started working directly with my body. You're literally working with the energetic structure of your body. the structure that's beneath the tree of life, the one I discussed, the kundalini, the chakras, it's beneath the tree. And you're using a name of God which creates energy, which in turn interacts with the energy of your body. Right? We do it all the time. We get angry. It's an energy. How do we feel in our body? We feel the energy, right? A lot of fire. We lose a lot of space. It feels claustrophobic. There's less amount to move, correct? It's fast. So there's a lot of air and fire, right? Without air, there's no fire, right? It's not cooling, so there's no water. We feel kind of ungrounded, right? So there's not a lot of earth. See how the elements are? How I'm weaving in the elements here to kind of show you guys how it all works. And how does it do to our body? The fire. It burns, can give us an ulcer, right? It feels a certain way. We lose our connection with logic, with reason, with intelligence. We make rash and bad decisions, right? So we lose contact with our Keter, right? The wisdom and understanding goes out the window, right? Our masculine and feminine channels fall out of alignment, right? We become really, really, really solar, right? Judgy, constricted, tight. All about action, no space, reactive, not thinking. Do you see how all this fits together? So when we do a practice like we're practicing today, we are learning to re-find an equilibrium. And with the practice we do at home, when we find ourselves launched in the real world, and God knows there's a lot that could trigger us, with our mindfulness that we are cultivating, in that one moment, we could just briefly, don't do this while you're driving, please don't do this when you're driving. But even in a conversation, even if without closing your eyes, you could learn, and it's possible, you just pull your energy inward and you find that center space and you relax into it. And that slight exhale is enough to find that rebalance and that little space of awareness, giving you the path on how to manage that situation in the wise way. To stop that karma. To not get pulled in. And as one cultivates this slowly but slowly, anger is the most difficult one. It's fire. Fire is the hardest one to work with. It's so much heat. Desire, such a pull. But you start with minor aggravations. Somebody cuts in front of you when you're going to your mailbox. Right? Just breathe. It's not a big deal. Relax. Why be aggravated? These are thoughts you can tell yourself. It's great. That's mindfulness. Why am I aggravated? Why do I care? Clearly they're in a rush, or clearly they're not aware, or clearly they're disturbed, so I really don't want to aggravate them now. And just breathe and just it's a moment to practice. You practice with the small things in your life, and then one day you can handle the more challenging places, and you're thankful to the person. See, it comes from aggravation to actually being thankful. Oh my God, she's given me an opportunity to practice here. Relax. Where does my body? I feel my body, relax, release, let go of the tension. And you realize your body had immediately gotten tight with the person doing that. And with that moment, because of your practice here, you're learning how to relax your body. And then you could do it on the spot, which you call off the cushion, right? We're never all in our cushion because we're sitting down doing our practice, but out in the real world, we're off our cushion, and then we have thankfulness. Oh, she gave me an opportunity to practice. Oh, thank you. And then it goes from aggression to gratitude. I just backed up on how to work with emotions. See, it all fits together. That's an antidote. You're angry at someone. One of the most strongest antidotes is actually finding gratitude for that. It completely neutralizes the anger, the polar opposites. See, you're transmuting energy. And it's logical. You're not forcing it on you. You just choose to view the situation another way. Annoyance of getting cut off. The gratitude, oh, this is giving me an opportunity to work with anger that arose. You didn't choose to get angry. You reacted, as we react to it, in a way that's a little upset. And you have the gratitude because it gives us the opportunity to work back that karma, that reaction. And we choose a different action. To breathe, calm down, let go, let them do their thing, step back even, give them a little space. Clearly they're a little off, right? Don't trigger the crazy, as a friend once told me. And breathe. And you're training yourself, you're training your mind to heal, to stay in that neutral place. And with practice, as one learns, it all stays calm and smooth. To use a 70s term, smooth, baby, nice and smooth, right? You're keeping it even. It's a Ferrari. It's not that you're going fast. It's not that it's all shiny and glitzy and whatever. It's the fact that things flow. So once you're in that flow, in that smoothness in your life, and the ripples, and you're calmer and your mind's more disciplined, when somebody does that, you don't react out of anger. You just see it and be like, oh, okay. And you let them do it. And there's no rise of energy. Because you're living from an aware, awake, open space. You're living more from the central column. So you're less disturbed. You don't hop into the solar channel because of what they do. You could, sometimes, you don't have to live. That's a pretty conscious, awake place. You could just feel, it's not the ideal, but it's, I feel it sometimes. You're like, oh, this is annoying. But there's no anger. You're like, oh, it's a judgment. Yeah, it's not fully there. But that's a good place to live from. You're just judging. Oh, how annoying. Oof. That person again, so irritating. But it's not like I'm irritated. It's just like you're judging it for what it is. Oof. But you see, there's no reaction really from energetic. It's subtle, and you can work on even those thoughts. But it's one from not anger or saying, you know what, I was here first. Get out of my way. And if you really have anger issues, you could push the person out of the way, and that's technically an assault, right? And then if they have anger issues, they push you out of the way, and next thing you know, you're both punching each other in the face. And it happens all in society, and you're both headed to jail, right? So taken to an extreme, but yet, right? So it's all worked with. So depression can be seen this way, everything. It's all energetic imbalances. And when you learn to relax and be, you kind of allow the processes to work their way through. And you try to put things to help along the way to kind of move you in a different direction that's more equilibrated. And that's the whole path. Everything we're doing is to enter into alignment with Hashem, with God, with Adonai, with Abba, with Elohim. Abba, right? Abba is a wonderful word to work with. Actually, it's an antidote word that's very powerful, and I think it works really well to what I'm describing today. Because Abba really takes in the lunar and the solar, the manifestation with the feminine. And when you say both, that open space is created where other things that disturb it kind of fall away, which is literally what we're trying to do here. This is why a couple months ago I would start every practice with Abba, because it really created a space, an openness. And in that space that was created, I would say the main name that I work with, and you use the name you work with, and in that space you arise a more concentrated form of divine consciousness and awareness that's more manifested. You see, it's all Shekinah, but different levels. You see, so we could do, I don't know, off the top of my mind, I would say Abba might be more Ein Sof, and the name of God might be more Or Ein Sof from the teachings of last week. It's a little more manifested form of the Shekinah, which really courses through our bodies. But the Abba sort of hits a energetic reset button where things kind of clear, open and relax. So as we finish off today, why don't we work with Abba? And if people feel comfortable, why don't you try this name? It gives you a taste of another name. And, you know, some names are very energetic. El Shaddai is literally electricity and lightning. It's a very powerful name. You know, for this practice, it, you know, would cause Kundalini to rise, and it wouldn't necessarily lead to that openness and relaxation. Right? Each name has different qualities. You know, Elohim, which is actually the first name I started with, has a certain quality, more spacious quality. And for me, that's what it was. And so you work and you bring in but for me, that name has more of a manifested quality. Abba is just very spacious, all-consuming. Elohim is sort of one step into the Or Ein Sof. Do you see? It's more of a manifesting name. There's a certain hierarchy of the names, and you learn to work with them depending on the quality of what you need. And you develop that ability. So it's almost like your little pouch. You know, if you look at more traditional healers in more, Native American, South American, Hawaiian, more indigenous religions, indigenous practices. Sometimes they have a little pouch with little herbs for different things, a little incense, a little root for something. This is a sort of energetic pouch we have. And we learn to cultivate different practices and different names. And with our practice, we develop abilities in each one. And then when we go throughout our day, we're able to use what is needed for that particular situation to bring us back into balance. And we learn to work with the energetic makeup of our body. So if we're aggravated, right? I wouldn't necessarily use El Shaddai. That's just thinking of it just kind of made my throat constrict in that situation. I would do something that's more open, Abba, right? Or one that's more connected to wisdom, awareness, action, which would be Yahweh. That connects more with the rightful action in this. I wouldn't necessarily exit to space. I would exit to where my stable name is. A very manifested or Ein Sof Shekinah aspect of God. Yes? But when I was started, I would eject into space because I'm triggered. I didn't have the ability to find that middle way. I had to exit to space to get that calibration. And that's the path, is an understanding of where you are and what you need and what you're able to do for that situation. And for some situations, you just can't work with it. You excuse yourself and you leave because it's just overwhelming. But you have the intelligence to realize, I shouldn't stay here because it's going to get worse. And then that's using your intelligence. Or the situation's too depressing and it's too triggering. You just lost a parent 3 months ago and somebody wants to visit somebody who's dying, right? You don't know the person, but you go along with them, and you were supposed to go to a lunch, but yet here you are, right? And you are just being triggered, and your whole emotions are of mourning are being heightened, right? Well, it could be very intelligent to say, I want to support you in this, but you remember my mother just died. I'm just going to wait in the car while you take care of that. I understand, but I can't go in. I don't want to. That's not smart. See, that's using an intelligence and working with, though you want to support your friend, but at the same time, is that healthy for you and your family, for you to be re-triggered into that? Right? Or you say, you know what, you should spend time with this person. I completely understand. You shouldn't take time with me for this lunch when this person needs you, but I appreciate you trying. Why don't we reschedule? Or realizing you don't want to deal with the blowover during lunch of the person processing what they were just through. You learn to work with what you can and you can't do. But with the practices of learning to work with the names, you could easily sift that situation. Oh, this is very overwhelming. Now, right? So, as opposed to just saying, why don't you handle it? We'll reschedule. You can be like, you know what? If I'm in the car and I'm saying the name, I'll find a calibrated place where I could be thankful to be with my friend at lunch and not as triggered, and help them go through this because I just went through this from a place of strength and a desire to be helpful. And you see, it's less triggering because the way you've seen the situation has changed. Because you've learned how to work with that energy of emotion, and you've developed the skills on how to go about that. Yes? Well, I just discussed how to work with emotions. That's not exactly how I intended, but this is working with energy and energetic means to regain balance. And Abba is one of the most important ones. It's literally the reset button. So why don't we work with that? And then we will end for today. And I hope people practice this. I'm sort of stretching out my legs because I've lost feeling in my foot. So I hope people practice with that because it comes with practice. You can't ride a 10-speed bike if you don't start with with just getting to the end of the driveway and further. The more you practice with this, the greater your ability to do it. From needing to say it for a couple minutes to feel anything, to saying it once and it's completely fixed. Or just the thought of saying it, which is a form of saying it, actually fixes it. Because you've literally brought up in your mind that energy. And it's actually just by the memory of that energy actually manifests that energy. And then it's recalibrated. Yes, that is possible. But it's developing the strength. And like lifting weights. And here we're lifting our weights. Okay? So we're going to try this again. So get into a proper posture, back straight. Important to have back straight because the central column is where all the energy flows up and down. And we're trying to bring everything to the center. Right? And so the Abba neutralizes the imbalances in the lunar and solar channels. So they enter into an equilibrium. And the energy that's being diverted, moved into one or the other due to an imbalance is being brought back. And normally we would feel calm, centered, aligned. We become more present. Our breathing becomes calmer. Our heart rate goes down. Tension in our body goes away. We begin to feel the energy in our body move in better. Okay? So at the beginning, especially when you're starting, you call in God for help. God, be present. Help me do this practice. Help me understand this practice. Help me to connect with you because I'm using your name. So I come to understand this particular name. May it bless me in my life. Help me to become whole and balanced and more in keeping of what you would like for me. And so I could live a better life and be a better child of yours and be there for my friends and be there for my family and not add to all the things that are imbalanced in this world, but be a force of bringing things into a better balance in my own way. We start with ourselves. And as we learn to bring wholeness and stability to ourselves, or as we learn to bring ourselves to heal, to our inner cathedral, then it naturally begins to manifest in how we engage with everything. And then we become a force, even without our intention to do so, that helps bring balance to a world that's very much out of balance. Always kind of comes back to Tikkun Olam. We tikkun ourselves, we heal ourselves, and then by healed people or people who are healing, we learn to heal and bring our world into healing. What's inside manifests outside. And we not so much allow things that are disturbed from the outside to disturb our inside. We begin to emanate. People not English in the first language, we don't learn to, we learn to allow our energies to move outward, but we don't allow ourselves to absorb, to bring in energies as much. So we become more solar, we emanate out, we absorb less. So more solar and less lunar is a smart posture, because there's so much out there that we really shouldn't absorb. And you could really only be one or the other. You either absorb or you emanate. Right? Now, if you're in a religious setting with people you trust, being more solar, more receptive, taking in, is a smart idea. Because you're bringing in wisdom, you're bringing in blessing, you're bringing in things to nourish when you go into the world, for that to emanate and not so much absorb the aggression or the depression or the sadness that's there, which in turn throw you off balance. But you're learning through your instability that you can maintain that stability, that positiveness, that inner warmth and light and 24 karat gold, that it's not as much affected by the outside world. Yes, gold is a very special metal. Nothing can attach to it. You could put gold in the bottom of the ocean for 600 years. It will still look like gold when somebody finds it. There's nothing that can attach to it. Unlike silver, barnacles and things attached to it. Gold, it remains pristine. Might need to be polished, but short of that, there's really nothing that can attach. And that's how we're creating in ourselves that 24 karat gold. Gold always emanates. It doesn't absorb. If you look at the properties of gold, it always emanates a solar energy. Right? Silver can catch energy. It also emanates, but it's interesting, it's not like gold. So let's try this here now. So back straight, couple deep breaths, close your eyes. If you can, so put the energy in your body. So basically just try to just feel your body. At the beginning, sometimes it's very hard to feel your body. I was there at the beginning. I could even feel my body. But just try to feel something like, where your stomach is, or where your lungs are, somewhere inside the core, or where there's some tension. Do that prayer to God to help you connect this presence of healing and blessing, right? So we can do this. That's an additional assistance that we can call on. And then together we're going to say the name Abba. And I'm going to say it a couple times, and then you can continue saying it out loud or say it inside, as long as you're able to feel that frequency. If you can't feel that frequency when you start saying it inside, or when you just whisper it under your breath, then continue saying it out loud. And with time, not actually that much time at all, you'll be able to still feel that frequency and vibration as you get quieter and quieter, to the point you could say it in your inner voice, just by the thought of the vibration. At the beginning, you kind of have to learn that vibration, that movement. Okay? Breathing, relax, open. You can put your fingertips together if you wish. It's whatever you feel works. Abba, 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 Abba. Say it slowly, like Abba, Abba, Abba. faster. Up, up. Go of any tension with the out breath, just slightly. Just release. Tell your body to release any tension. It's a thought. You could just say relax. Say the name on top of it too. Just add the name again. Open space. Feel yourself open and expanding into your room. Just opening up. It's very expansive, very open. Your neck can actually go above the horizon. Sometimes when I say a name this open, my face and my neck just goes, at 60, 70 degrees above, a right angle. It's just open. You just let go and just open in the space of your room, where your body begins and where the room begins just kind of dissolves as your consciousness sort of expands into the room, into an open space that's really greater than you. That's a possibility. So you just say the name and open, 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 let go, relax, open. Relax, release, let go. Any thinking, just open and let go. Just release it, open. Release any thoughts, anything. If you become discursive, just bring it back to the name. Just say the name a little louder or start saying it again. It just all goes back to the name, the sound of the name, the vibration, your body, and you even let go of that. You could open your eyes and bring yourself back to your shrine space in a slow way. And you just open and just be aware of what's in front of you, the candle. Just look at its warmth and its flicker, or your shrine, what's there. And still, go back to the name and just open into that space. You're not describing it, you're not thinking about it, but you're just perceiving and being in that presence of it. breathe, relax any tension in the breath. So for the last couple minutes, just let go of the name. Anchor yourself in what you're seeing and in your body, and just open and relax and just be. Perceive and feel. No thoughts, no judgment, just open. So we say Abba a couple more times. Regain the openness, and then relax, release, let go of the technique of saying the name, and just be in presence. Abba, Abba. If anything comes up that distracts you from the openness, just exhale it out. Just a slight exhale, and you should be able to just pop back in. It's all attention. The thought's attention, emotion is attention. By relaxing, we allow that energy, by exhaling, we allow that energy to leave. And equilibrium, evenness, is restored. So, Abba, Abba, Abba. It's an open breath. We're not holding or tightening. Our breath is just open and expansive. And we breathe when we need it, through the mouth or through the nose. It's like the pranayama, the open hold on the bottom. Even our lungs are open. Everything open and relaxed. Our breath can become very subtle, very light. Just a light inhale, light exhale. It's all easy, open, spacious, no stress. You just be. slowly just bring awareness back to your body. Blink your eyes a couple times. Slowly, you go with the flow, to kind of bringing yourself while maintaining your awareness. So you take the benefits with you as you sort of come back into yourself a little more, into your body. Some deep breaths. Move your hands a little bit. You can go really deep for many minutes, or 30 or 40 minutes with this. So you kind of rub your arms a little bit, and then maybe move your shoulders, and then undo your legs. Go slowly, go at your pace. If your feet or legs have fallen asleep, stretch them out. Always be careful when you're praying or meditating for a long period of time. Before you try to get up, just make sure your legs are not asleep. Many people have tumbled thinking their legs are fine until they try to get up and realize they can't hold themselves up. I've done that a few times. Even in front of one of my teachers, in front of a room full of people, I was leading the meditation practice, and so happy to see him. I hadn't seen him for a year, and I got up as he walked into the room, forgetting my feet were not awake. I'd been up there for 45 minutes, and I hadn't quite mastered my seated practice yet, and I fell. I started laughing. So I'm like, wow, this is surreal. He came in front of me and he said, "Are you okay?" And I didn't even hear him say that. I was just half laughing and half in shock because, it's trying to have the proper posture to impress. And lo and behold, I completely fell. So don't fall. You could hurt yourself. So this is a practice. And we enter into equilibrium. We take the heat away. We come back into a more spacious, healed way. We connect more with a water energy. It's cooling, it's present, it's grounding as opposed to air and fire, right? It's an antidote to too much fire and even too much air. If you look at the properties of water, it's cooling, it's present, but it's not dense like earth. And it's not overly spacious because there's a certain grounding to it. It helps us go into a more cool flow, not too lunar, not too solar, sort of an in-between. It's chi that's in balance. Water can also have its issues. But in this today's society, we should look at water as something that could be helpful. If we drink mineral water from a natural source, there's no chlorine or any additives in there. And it should have a more balanced pH. And if it's slightly cool, it's very refreshing. And ultimately, that's what we're looking in our practice. Something that refreshes us, that cools our hearts and our minds and our souls. And we reconnect with something that's fresher, that's vibrant with life, that has energy in it, but it's balanced and it's whole. And by connecting with that, naturally, we work our way up in a much easier way up Jacob's ladder. We are able to ride that chariot up. And there's less effort. And it's not so much that it's burning in flames, it's that it's infused with Yah Hashem's or Adonai's or Elohim's or Abba's 24 karat gold that radiates in that divinity of purity, of blessing, of wisdom, of connection. It's a chariot of 24 karat gold radiating that Shekinah of 24 karat gold, which blesses us and blesses the world around us. So I invite you all to do this practice this week. Listen to what I've said again and follow it along if you need to. And after a couple times of it being guided, then you bring it on and do it yourself in the way that works for you. And if you haven't had the chance to finish the teachings I've given over the last couple of weeks, I really invite you to do so, because you will understand how these practices really fit in and how they're helpful to realize the tree of life in our lives. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's always the highlight of my week. And, maybe go out into nature today. Spend some time in some place a little calm. Say Abba a couple times. It's helpful to be in a place that's calm, that's quiet, a park, beach, a forest, in your backyard, or a place where you could find a little peace and just be in that open space and let go of things that you're holding on to, and find that peace and maybe pray a little there. We have so many sources of blessings that can help us. Go to the store and get some water, or bring some water with you. Water that doesn't have too much acid or chlorine in it, and swallow it and see how that feels and how that soothes us, how that takes the heat away and brings us into balance. May Abba bless us all and bless our week, bless our families, protect us, helps us connect with wisdom. Amen. I look forward to being with you all next week. Bye-bye.